kind words. I'm like Hardik Pandya bowling the last over here today. But I think it's a pleasure to be here. Dr. Ajit Singh is not there, but I think he was instrumental in setting up the USP India site. He was with our old management, uh, Roger Williams and Srini Srinivasan. I think without support of Ajit Singh, I think we wouldn't have set up the site in India. So we are based out of Hyderabad. I'm based out of Hyderabad. And thanks IPC for also giving this opportunity. So and my job was made easier by earlier speakers. There was references to USP general chapters or other verification program. Dr. Singh mentioned about it. So I'll make it very short and sweet. Uh, this is a disclaimer. I'm going to go into detail. Agenda is about role of quality standards across the pharmacopoeia, why excipients are important, and how USP, what is the portfolio of USP in the arena of excipients. Before I get into the slides, I just want to make a small announcement. In case you answer all the questions, you get a free USP NF online access, single user license. So the question is, I see some students, some pharma manufacturers. These are very simple questions just to test your knowledge about USP. USP enough. We don't do that. We are a not-for-profit organization. Since you mentioned it, it's $800 per license. So any students who are getting into pharmaceutical industry or anybody from industry who have just started, it's open for everyone, not for Kaushik Desai, Mr. Singh, Mujib, or my other colleague Budas sir. It's only for others who are present in the room. Is USP part of the government? If yes, give me an answer. If no, also give me an answer. It is not part of the government. Yeah, it's open to everyone. So we are not part of the government actually. We are a private, not-for-profit, independent scientific organization. For your information, there are 64 active pharmacopoeia in the world. We are the only pharmacopoeia which is not part of the government. Unlike IP, which is part of the CDSO, DCGI, Ministry of Health, Japanese Pharmacopoeia, EDQM, BP, but we are the only unique pharmacopoeia which is not part of the government. But we have a legal recognition under the US law, under the 1938 Federal Food and Cosmetic Act. USP can set standards, and US FDA will enforce those standards set by USP. So that is a subtle difference between what USP does and what FDA does. Second question, USP is in charge of quality only, not safety and efficacy. We have been hearing about quality throughout the day, today, throughout the afternoon. What do you think? Safety and efficacy. So question is false because USP also in charge of the safety and efficacy. Safety and efficacy is actually under the mandate of US FDA. The purity, packaging, labeling all comes under USP, whereas FDA is in charge of how efficacious the drug is, how safety is drug is. May I know what is the general chapter 1059 talks about? It is 1058 is generally any chapter above 1000 is only for informational purposes. Any chapter below 1000 is for it's official in nature. So that is the difference. We have chapters starting from 1 up to 1000 and above 1000 as well as above 2000. This is for dietary supplements and nutraceuticals. USP has got access to NDA, ANDA filings to establish the monographs. What is NDA for all the students, if there are any students? NDA, ANDA, DMF, BLA, ANDA? ANDA क्या होता है? DMF, BLA. Wow, fantastic. Give a round of chocolate. She's got chocolate. Yeah, great. Thanks. Okay, let's move on. Only the innovator can sponsor a monograph of an ingredient or finished dosage form. You think only innovator? We work with J&J, GSK, Nova test. Is that the case? We have, I think, some representatives from Hetero. We do work with generic manufacturers. I think the general myth in the market is that USP works only with innovators, but we also work closely with the manufacturers. Mujib is my colleague who takes care of that portfolio. So we work with the Ciplas, Arbindos, name any big pharma company, they work with us. Even with Global Pharma Tech, Global Calcium, in the past, we have worked and established monographs. USP, RS are primary reference standard. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. What answer? All pharmacopoeial standards, whether it's USP, EP, BP, JP, IP are all primary standards. Any standards made out of the primary standards are known as in-house standards in the industry. That's a terminology used. But you also have those secondary standards in the market which are traceable to the pharmacopoeial standards. So that is the difference between primary and secondary standards. Who has answered the most questions will get a USP-NF online. Do we have only the USP-NF online format, or do we have other formats like book, pen drives and everything? What is the answer? Do you still refer the red book in the pharmacy college industry? Anybody has seen that?
In your college you have USP book only? It's very expensive.
It is, no doubt. So what we have done after 2020, we have only the online format. The book is no longer there. So it comes in three phases, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3. Each year, 2023, we have 2024 now. So any interest to refer to a USP-NF online, USP generally gives, Dr. Kaushik, we give the free online format to colleges.
Very good.
So anybody is interested, please reach out to me or Mujib.
I
And
put an announcement in my exhibit. Announcement,
sure,
sir.
sure. No problem. And anybody, please, we will connect offline and we will give those access to it. But we will also see after 1 year what has been the access to it. Because what is happening is that when people use it, they don't use it on a regular basis. So we keep a close watch on it. But yeah. This picture gives me goosebumps. I've been working for the last 16 years, but every time I see it's a goosebump for me. This is how US Pharmacopoeia started in the year 1820. We are a 204-year-old organization. Why it started? Reason being that in those days in America there wasn't an established pharmaceutical industry. Each state had its own way of manufacturing medicines. To streamline that, Lyman Spalding and 11 other physicians started the pharmacopoeia. 1820 is USP the oldest pharmacopoeia? No. No. There are references to, I am a microbiologist by profession, by training, but my colleagues who have done pharmacy, they've said it is French pharmacopoeia as well as German pharmacopoeia, which started in the 15 and 1600s. So, yeah. So the USP is not the old, but we are one of the most established pharmacopoeia in the nature, in the world. What are standards? Kaushik ji said there will be a lot of students here, but there are two kinds of standards which are available in any pharmacopoeia. One is the documentary standards, meaning the book, the pharmacopoeia, where it got monograph, specification, test methods. To support that, we have those physical reference standard. I think these two go complementary in nature. Without the documentary standard, you can't have a reference standard, and vice versa. So what my colleague Mujib does when he acquires a monograph, he ensures that we get all the specifications, but also the standards. Because without a monograph, without a reference standard, you can't test a monograph. So that has been our approach. In the past, probably Mr. Kaushik and Mr. Singh, you might known that we had a monograph but never a reference standard. But I think that process has been mitigated now with the new approach that we have. As I mentioned earlier, all pharmacopoeial standards are primary, and there is reference to USP general notices. This is available as a 13-page PDF document. There are 10 sections here. The section 5.080 talks about reference standard. It says that USP reference standards are approved as a suitable for use in USP or NF tests and assays. And also you can refer the chapter 11, which is talks about assuming the official status and legal recognition. So there are two components to USP and NF. Any idea what does the USP section refer to and what does the NF section refer to? Yes, very right. Whereas the USP is for all drug substances, drug products, biotechnology products, even dietary supplement products also come under the USP section. But to get a detailed understanding of it, you should refer a compendium called Dietary Supplement Compendium. So this is all pharmacopoeial standards. I'm not just referring to USP, EP, BP, JP are all primary in nature. And what is a primary reference standard? A substance that has been shown by extensive set of analytical tests to be authentic material. There should be a high purity, must be obtained from official recognized source, prepared by independent synthesis, prepared by further purification of existing production material, and normally used without additional testing. So when you buy a primary reference standard, you don't have to test it. You can automatically use for your test and methods, which is easy in nature. And this is what ICHQ7 as well as the guidance for documents from FDA also talks about it. They also talk about secondary reference standard. For this presentation, this is secondary standards obtained from the official sources, like what you find in the market. But there is something called in-house reference standard. You buy a USP standard or a EP standard, BP standard, you make a working standard out of it. That's a normal procedure. But secondary standards, when you buy, it should be of established quality and purity. It should be determined prior to use by comparing against a primary reference standard. And each batch of secondary reference standard should be periodically requalified in accordance with a written protocol. All the test procedures have to be there, without which I think there have been a lot of 483s because of unqualified secondary standard. So the cost of remediation of using a secondary standard is huge actually. And sometimes to cut costs, manufacturers try to buy a market available sources. So I think the request is go for a primary standard, whether it's USP, BP or EP. So reference standards are part of a big analytical procedure used to monitor critical attributes of a pharmaceutical product. Are you generating accurate results? Because this is important for patient safety. It impacts your business, it impacts your patients also. So this slide talks about a drug product reference standard and a validated analytical procedures and acceptance criteria. So these measure the product attribute, which helps you in making a decision, and the product quality should be within the acceptance criteria. So what is quality is nothing but suitability of either drug substance or drug product for its intended use. And it includes identity, strength, and purity. How to determine quality? I think it's a process. It's by the design, development, in process, and GMP controls, process validations, and by specifications. So purely characterized reference standard, non-validated analytical procedures can increase the risk to quality and to your business. We have seen that in the DEG case recently, a lot of deaths, unfortunately. And actually it impacts the business actually. Patient is one, lot of young babies where they died, but also it impacts the reputation not only of a particular pharmaceutical company, but the entire region. I think India was maligned in a big way, but I think due to efforts of IPCA and other manufacturers, I think the series of events we did it with Pharma, right? 12 events last year. I think that has changed the perception of the manufacturers and regulators as well as the pharmacopoeia. I mentioned about this 1938 Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. That's where the legal recognition of USP is there. And the section 501 of the FDA law says that The drug with the name recognized in USP must comply with the compendial identity or to be deemed adulterated, misbranded, or both. Also, they must comply with all compendial standards for strength, quality, and purity, unless labeled to show all the differences. So these are laws which has been put up here. Again, the FDA Act talks about what is the definition of a drug. So the intended use for use as a component of any article meeting the above criteria, which is diagnosis, cure, mitigation, and prevention of disease. So this is a structural hierarchy which we follow in USP. The bottom of the pyramid, you saw general notices, 13-page document. Most of the questions to the manufacturers are available in the 13-page document. There are definitions like abort, negligible. They are simple English words, but they mean differently in USP. General test chapters, as I said, chapter 1 till 1000 is official. Anything above 1000 is only for informative purposes. And we also have monographs, but anything in conflicting, the monographs takes precedence. This is how the structural hierarchy is there. Excipients are important. As Mr. Ajit Singh said, 25% API, 75% is the excipient. In fact, USP says it's about 90%, about a total mass volume of medicinal product. Excipients are delivered, should be delivered to the site of action, but I think the supply chain in the last few years has been kind of disturbed, and this can lead to a lot of adulteration. So excipients are important, and we have seen the recent examples. I'm not going into detail, but traditionally the excipient specifications was established the focus of the intended use, not on the composition. But I think over a period of time, for the last 15 years, we are working on several novel excipients. Complex generics is the era. We are working on it. Mr. Gosafi talked about grow-processed excipients. Ma'am also talked about composition, variability, and performance. I think it's a next era of excipient industry and quality. Dr. Pushpa Ali mentioned about 1078 chapter, good manufacturing practices for bulk manufacturing, but pharmaceutical excipients. We have a general notices requirements, along with two general chapters in USP are very, very important. 1225, 1226, validation, verification of compendial procedures. Even though they are numbered above 1000, US FDA deems it very, very important. I think you'll have to understand the interplay between USP standards, GMP for excipients, as well as the chapters that I was referring to. I think this quality issues can be a significant patient safety because they are used in multiple drugs and dosage forms. To the point made by Dr. Kaushik, more than one excipient used in 1,100 dosage forms. So these are very, very important. But I think the challenges with pharmaceutical excipient manufacturers, we have spoken to BASFs of the world and Ashland. For them, I think pharma is not a big business. I think the food and feed industry, Mr. Singh can give a better perspective on it, but I think things are changing. There was a mention of nitrosamine today in the morning, nitrites and nitrate. I think USP is working extensively on that. We have a general chapter called 1469. Our team in Hyderabad is working on those determinations on nitrate and nitrites. But I think the problem is the multiple source supplies of the same grade, batch to batch, lot to lot, supplier not providing those documentation. But I think things have improved, and probably the elderly statesman of the industry can vouch for it. I think that there is a desire to improve the characterization of excipient composition and how do we mitigate the supply chain. So, Dr. Kaushik, we have a tool called a medicine supply chain map. This is a Excel format sheet which is available on our website. So, in case there is a drug shortage in a particular country, we can provide you those information. So I can provide that data to you so that it can be spread across the IPEC fraternity. This is very interesting. FDA also gives warning letters to excipient manufacturers. We have only data till 2021, but see this. From 2013 to 2016, there were only 3 manufacturers who got FDA warnings. But from 17 to 20, you see it's anywhere between 17 to 20, 21 FDA violations. So I think the major issue was the identity issue of excipients coming in and reconfirming the supply COA. We don't have data from 2022 to 2024, but probably Pushpavali can see there's increasing number of FDA violations among excipient manufacturers.
That is one of the reasons previous year actually USP General Chapter 1078
Yeah, yeah.
to emphasize the GMP
Correct.
excipient industry.
Correct. So we also have a similar program to Excipad, excipient verification program, where we do a GMP audit, we do a CMC review as well as a product testing, where they're confirming with any pharmacopoeia, and we give a verification mark to those customers. So I think it's a joint collaboration. It's not only USPs, IPEC, FDA, other pharmacopoeias also have to come into play. What does USP offer? We have 530 monographs on excipients in USP NF, 325 excipient reference standard. Again, people in the industry talk about biosimilars, biopharma. So those polysorbites of the world or twin 80s of the world are also used in biopharma industry. So that is also becoming very important. USP general chapters, we have a general chapter on chromatography 621. It's a basis for all analysts in the industry. And the GMP related general chapters 1078, we just discussed 1197, which is for good distribution practices. And also we have 1080 bulk pharmaceutical excipient certificate of analysis and 1195. So these are important excipient chapter, even though they are numbered above 1000. So the excipient quality cannot be an afterthought. I think as a country we are very reactive in nature. I think we have to be proactive. I think these forums help us in getting the best minds together, mitigating the issue. I think it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I think we'll have to work together to reduce the issue. In summary, I would say that we have to work together. Probably IPEC is one body. We work very closely with IPEC India, but I think that collaboration should be extended to our other offices also. And I think industry also have to play an important role in the CGMP requirements by implementing the DG, EG related competitive standard. So my last slide is about the toolkit we have for the DG, EG. Any interest, we can always send that information.